Now let's talk about chips, not the kind that you eat. We're talking about the chips that power all modern gadgets, the semiconductors that run everything from smartphones to missiles and even your favorite AI apps. These chips are the new oil, and two superpowers are fighting over them, the United States and China. They're locked in an economic dogfight. Donald Trump is trying to contain China's tech rise. He doesn't want Beijing near high-end chips, so he is issuing new orders and shutting down access. The latest restrictions target chip software, something called EDA, Electronic Design Automation. You may not have heard of it, but here's what you should know. The EDA software is an important piece in the chip puzzle. You cannot make any advanced chips without it. Without EDA, you cannot design, test, or build next-generation semiconductors. So this is an indispensable tool. You must have it. And that is why Trump is targeting it. He has stopped the sale of EDAs to China, and this could just be the beginning. More restrictions are believed to be in the pipeline. In fact, last month a report had come out. It said the US was preparing a new blacklist to target Chinese chip makers directly and to block them from accessing any US technology. Some officials warned against this move. They feared that it would undermine trade talks. So they pushed for a delay. In the meantime, the US and China agreed to lower tariffs and work on a trade deal.
And we have another big one that we just reached with China. China deal is a very big deal. It's in the process of continuing to be formed. But they wanted to make that deal very badly.
But knowing how Trump operates, the deal with China looks like a long shot. What's more likely is the return of his blanket bans. Since taking office, Trump has only extended restrictions on chips, and he has expanded the scope of these restrictions. His predecessor, Joe Biden, had a different approach. Biden preferred targeted restrictions. Trump likes blanket bans. No room for nuance, no room for compromise. That is how Trump has taken his trade decisions, and now the same approach is dictating his chips policy. But is the strategy even working? Are trade bans really slowing China down? Tech industry leaders do not think so. One of them is Jensen Huang. He is the CEO of NVIDIA, the world's biggest supplier of chips. He says export curbs have failed, and they've hurt US companies more than China. Why? Because China has had the time to prepare. They've stockpiled chips, they closed the loopholes, and now they're catching up fast. Experts say that China is making serious progress. Their gap with the US is shrinking. The question is how? How are they doing it? How has China pulled it off? Thanks to two factors. One is investment. China is spending big money on chip making. You could say Beijing is practically cutting blank checks. And I'll give you an example. In 2024, China spent $41 billion, $41 billion, to buy the tools that are used to make chips. In fact, China alone accounted for 40% of global sales. Clearly, they're pumping some serious money into this. That's the first factor. The second factor is government subsidies. Again, I have some data. Between 2014 and 2018, 4 companies in China were given loans. These were state-backed chip companies. They were given $5 billion in loan, and that too on low interest rates. And on top of that, China gives tax breaks, free land, and subsidized utilities to chip makers. These are all compelling incentives, and for any chip maker, they significantly bring down the overall expenses. So it's no surprise that making chips in China is cheaper than making chips in America. The cost of operating a chip plant is 37% lower in China, all thanks to state investment and subsidies. And this has helped China bridge the gap with the US. But Xi Jinping is not done. He wants to beat the United States, and he's working on a plan for that, a follow-up to their Made in China strategy. This new plan will focus on building high-end technologies like chips and boosting their production. Basically, China is moving towards self-reliance in technology. Eventually, it wants to dominate this space. Where does that leave the United States? At a turning point. The Americans have some serious thinking to do. Their restrictions have not worked. Their sanctions and trade curbs rarely deliver results. They failed to slow down Russia, and they haven't stopped China. Instead, they have fired up the Chinese engine. Beijing is not slowing down, it is responding, it is investing, it is outspending. This tech war is a battle for the future of computing, the future of defense, the future of artificial intelligence. Every one of these fields runs on chips, and whoever controls the chips will control what comes next. Today, the US dominates the world's chip supply, but at this rate, China will soon give them a run for their money.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakaijmo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.